Hello everyone. In this video we're going to go ahead and we're going to focus on the information that's in the last section of chapter 4, which is section 4.7, and it's preparing bank statement reconciliations. So basically a bank statement reconciliation is making sure that the bank statement that you receive balances or reconciles with your account balance that you have from your registers. So what we're going to do is kind of look at some of the important concepts that were introduced in this section and kind of talk about what that looks like as you're trying to reconcile. So a couple things, as I said, to keep in mind is the bank statement reconciliation is where you are technically adjusting your bank statement and your account balances to calculate what your actual account balance is, because sometimes your bank statement may show more or less money than you have in your register. So it's important to make sure that you know exactly how much money you have. I'm sure there's been a situation where maybe you or someone you know thinks they have more money than what they actually do, and sometimes that happens because we haven't done a reconciliation of the account. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Also, too, a couple things that come into play as you're reconciling and why those statements don't always match is you may have some outstanding checks. Perhaps you wrote a check to someone, but they haven't cashed it by the time the bank statement's coming out. So what's happening is you're showing in your account $100 less than what the bank statement's showing. So that's something that you need to keep in mind, because the bank statement, even though you've subtracted it out, the bank has not. So that's something to check and see. Sometimes, people will hold on to checks for a while and that can really mess up your balance. Also, too, sometimes you have what's referred to as deposits in transit. What that basically means is that the day that your bank statement came out, the deposit had maybe you credited it on that day or the day before, so it was already printed, so you're not seeing it even though you have already deposited it. So maybe in your account you're showing more money than what you had on the bank statement. That's because the deposits haven't hit the account yet. An adjusted checkbook balance is when you incorporate things like fees or interest, any credits or debits that are coming from the bank that's not reflected in your checkbook balance. And then, of course, an adjusted bank balance is the bank balance where you have outstanding checks and deposits that are in transit that weren't necessarily showing up, but you make sure you include them. So I want to give you a quick example of what reconciliation basically looks like. So here, let's say you have a checkbook balance of $400, but when you got your bank statement, it said you had $500. Well, you went through, you looked at everything that you had, you didn't have any interest or credits, you didn't have any service charges or other debits, so basically you're not seeing anything different. So you have $400 here. But with your statement balance, you have $500. When you went back and you checked, it turns out there's one check missing for $100. So that is not being reflected on the statement balance. You need to subtract that from the statement balance so that you realize that you really only do have $400 in your account. So that's an overview of preparing bank statement reconciliations.